All right, welcome to the third review, fourth video, final thing of the evening. Up this time is the Last Ninja Collection, plus bonus games. So let me see here, where to start with this. I'm going to have to be engaging in a bit of laborious backstory once again, because as you might be able to surmise, the Last Ninja collection is a collection of games. Um, like, okay, The Last Ninja is a series of, well, isometric ninja action adventure titles that were released for home computers in the later part of the 80s to the early 90s. Uh, and that's the basics to this collection. But there is, as you might expect, a whole lot of history attached to that summary description. Um, and even more so when we attach to the so-called bonus games, because uh, this isn't like a random assortment of very obscure games like the Telenet Shooters collection we reviewed a couple of months back. No, this is, at least in certain retro circles, some fairly big deals. The problem is, at least for us, specifically me as a reviewer, it's the kind of connection to nostalgia that I just would not have. I described this back in the review of the Jeff Minter collection, because it comes down to the platforms that this game were popular on. Because, okay, yes, the Last Ninja series, depending on the game, did see release in America. This is a Commodore 64 game. And indeed, all of the games here were built with the Commodore 64 in mind. And if that wasn't a tip enough for you, the other like, we've got some Amiga ports. We even got a Spectrum port of The Last Ninja 2. Which, yes, this means these games were immensely popular in Europe. So yeah, I have absolutely no connection, no nostalgia. I did not hear about these games back in the day. There was probably a likelier chance of this and really the bonus games, because we should really start there with the journey here, because the bonus games, at least two of them, were released first, and are important in their own way. But I get why they were put here as bonus games, because you've got International Karate, International Karate Plus, and Bangkok Nights. Now, I will absolutely tell you, the odd game out in this entire collection is Bangkok Nights. This is a boxing game, but not a regular boxing game. If you don't know, Bangkok, that's Thailand.
Mm-hmm.
That means Muay Thai. So, instead of your usual straightforward box 'em up, if you will, it's this game is actually much more of a generalized karate game. Like actual Muay Thai focuses on knee strikes, but we are talking about games that were built for 1980s computer systems, so you weren't going to get that much accurate simulation out of a game at that particular moment in time.
Right.
Like, no, international karate is important here because it's a big building block in the development of the fighting game genre. Though I think these are best described as proto fighters, as in if you play them, they kind of resemble one-on-one fighting games as we know them today, but they're so far back on the evolutionary chain that they do not play like actual one-on-one fighting games.
If you're going to grab this and expecting to be play something like Tekken or Street Fighter, oh buddy, you are in for a very rude awakening.
Yeah, even Street Fighter 1,
Right.
not really. In fact, it's based off of an actual sport. The actual sport of karate, which has rules and a scoring system, and was not the only game of its type floating around at the time. In fact, this resulted in one of the landmark lawsuits seen in video gaming. Because Data East, I believe it was them. Let me just make sure if it was them or Taito. Live research, yada yada yada.
We're doing a history piece, I'll allow it.
Yeah, because it was Data East. Because they had a game called Karate Champ from 1984. And International Karate comes out in 1985. And the games are very similar.
Data East would consider it too similar.
That is exactly what happened. And they took, I forget if it was like just System 3 or Activision. They took the creators of the game to court. And the end result was a denial of an injunction. Like, as in, International Karate was not pulled off the market. And the reason was you can't copyright a sport in generalities. Because, once again, both of these titles...
mechanics. In the broadest sense.
Wasn't that later when the whole Capcom was suing people over Mega Man alikes, I believe?
Possibly, but in this case, it was definitely more over look and feel.
Well, I think part of that decision, or this decision partly led into that, is what I'm kind of saying chronologically here. This whole judicial prudence here had lasting effects going forward. It wasn't just, screw you, Data East. This actually had, influence.
I'm sorry. I actually have the wrong game.
Oh.
Like, Epic's like they sued over a different game called World Karate Championship by Epic's.
Oh.
Yeah, it's like sorry, but that's kind of what I'm getting at here. These games, they're very similar.
Mm-hmm.
And Data East was trying to say that they had the copyright over karate games, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Like, which is something that was denied. And I think if that had gone through, well, International Karate probably would have been in the blast zone here.
Mm-hmm.
Because once again, I had Karate Champ for some reason on the NES. A terrible version of that game. Mainly because the arcade version of that was controlled with 2 joysticks.
Mm-hmm.
And you really couldn't do that on the NES.
Right.
But aside from that, International Karate is like the first big hit for System 3. Who is actually the creators of this very collection? And that is actually significant because System 3 is one of the last of the great old British microcomputer publishers.
Mm-hmm.
Your Ultimate Play the Games, your Elites, your Oceans, etc., etc., etc. Most of them have vanished into the ether, or in the case of Ultimate Play the Game, became rare. And yes, they're around, but they don't have quite the connection to their legacy that System 3 does. In that System 3, they're still independent to this very day. Like, they are still the same company that they were in the 1980s. With the requisite obvious changes like personnel, development platforms, obviously all that changed. But they are still hanging in there, which is a very impressive feat. Oh, okay. Further revisement. That's what was confusing me. So no. International Karate was sued over. Epic's called it World Karate Championship. They changed the name over here. This shit can get confusing, especially when you got name changes like that. But yeah, so getting back to the lawsuit here, the decision was appealed to the United States Ninth Circuit Court. Initially, they had gotten the injunction, but they got it rescinded on appeal because they stated that while the game was similar, it was not identical, and that one company cannot monopolize one entire sport. I mean, think about if that had gone forward.
Only one company is allowed to make football games.
Yeah. So yeah, pretty important game. Now, how does it play? Honestly, kind of terrible. The problem is there's like next to no hit detection. I'm not, and that also goes for its sequel, International Karate Plus. But I'll talk about that in a bit. But like, I played a bit of it, and the big problem I was having was actually making contact with the other guy, because I kept passing through him, and it was just doing strikes in the air, or what was being registered as the air.
Did you? I guess did you
And
play the game back in the day too, or is this your first time playing it?
no, this is my first time playing it.
Okay.
Like,
Because sometimes stuff like that can also be an emulation issue, so I didn't know if you had, knowledge from back then.
It's like I played none of this as a child. I played none of this as a teenager. This is one of those places where here there be dragons. Like, now, International Karate Plus does something kind of interesting with the formula. It turns the bouts into 3-player affairs. So instead of just white and red, blue is added to the mix. I don't know if that is an actual variant on the sport of karate, but it does make for something different. It's still a mission-packed sequel for the most part. It kind of, but it's less so than you'd think, because obviously adding another player will change the dynamics quite a bit. And like how things will play out will depend on the rules of the round. Sometimes it'll be a free-for-all. Sometimes it'll be like red and blue versus white, or red and white versus blue. That kind of mix. Once again, the hit detection's absolutely dreadful. But once again, we are talking about games that are very, very old. They are the oldest games in this collection. And I was not surprised that this game would have some problems with the hit detection. In fact, this game shockingly matched most of my expectations. Because even though I have not played these particular games, I have played computer games from the 1980s. I'm like, and I know what they were like. And this game did not buck too many expectations. I think I can see why it was popular back in the day. Like super mega popular in terms of 1980s computer software. Like estimated to have sold about 7 million copies across all platforms and regions, which, if you don't know, is absolutely insane for computer software. So, yeah, it's not a surprise that this game is immensely, and this game series is immensely beloved in certain pockets. But also speaks to, however many this did, plus it's, popular in Europe, the UK, versus America. I.e., it's why it enjoys maybe less exposure than, say, the King's Quest games, or, insert other popular 80s software that was actually done on, say, the IBM PC or something like that. Like, So, with that in mind, you might be asking, how does it play? Like, I'm trying to find the right expression here. Actually, better than I thought. But still in line with
It's
what I
not
thought.
one of those games that's
That is to
historically
say,
relevant, but kind of a pain in the ass to actually play.
it's one of those, actually. Very much so. And you can tell it's very much the constraints of the time. Because where to start? I suppose I could start with the most obvious, the perspective. It's isometric perspective. So that's going to do a couple of things. Because the other thing I will mention is there is jumping in this game. So I believe we have talked about this in the past, but it definitely comes to the fore here. Isometric jumping is awkward.
To put it lightly.
No. Now, couple that with what do you like? Okay, now, what do you think you might be using to control this game?
This
probably-
was a Commodore, yes? Or is it Spectrum?
Commodore 64 game.
Probably best case would be the keyboard.
Wrong.
Unless you got the money for the joypad, that evil joypad the Commodore had.
It's the main method was the Commodore 64 joystick. So, and that was actually a bigger problem because, this game also had ambition behind it.
Oh no, that's the worst kind.
Yeah. So let me break it down for you. Every cardinal direction and every what do they call it? The
Intercardinal.
the ordinal directions, I think. Northwest, northeast, southwest, southeast.
It's not ordinal. Ordinal is.
I've always heard them called intercardinal.
The diagonals.
Yeah.
They also do things.
Fun.
And also holding down the button does things. So you're doing about 16 different things on this joystick.
Okay, fuck me. It is ordinal. Intercardinal or ordinal.
Huh.
Like,
ordinal normally refers to it's the form the cardinal number 1 is 1. The ordinal number 1 is first. So I don't know.
And now we know.
We are learning things tonight. Boom, doom, doom, doom. So, getting back to what I was talking about, in Commodore 64 tradition, up is jump.
Oh God, hell no.
Yes.
I can only imagine that would be even worse. I can only imagine that would be even worse on a joystick.
Probably is. I will say that you do get the luxury of having these games actually mapped to a modern day controller.
In the collection?
How well that works out. Yes. So you don't have to play on an actual replica C64 controller to get the best out of this game.
Bess is doing a lot of heavy lifting there, bro.
Yeah. And not surprisingly, this game is infamous for its jumping. Because also apparently they were one of the artists was very adamant about making sure your character was matching up with the terrain.
Oh.
And this guy's nickname was apparently Pixel Perfect. I forget his actual name. So yeah, that means you got to be making some awkward isometric jumps on a joystick using the up direction. Some places were better than others. And this is a good segue to talk about your typical emulator features. What is your tool set here? Honestly, it falls short of modern day expectations.
This isn't a Criterion Collection level of work.
I mean, like it's actually an overall problem with this package, but I'll talk about that a bit later because I'm talking about save states and that sort of thing. The good news is you get save states. The bad news is you don't get rewind. And I'm sorry, we're
so
at
you have
the
to
point
save
where,
before you fuck up if you want to be able to go back to before you fuck up.
Yes, and it's further complicated by the fact that you can't load the game while the game is running. You actually have to exit the game in order to load where you were.
Oh, that's just an unfortunate emulator problem, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what was behind that, but it adds an extra step. So when you're making some of these jumps and you're being swallowed by the swamp or the water for the 40th time, gets annoying. Like every click is an extra bit of an annoyance kind of deal. So obviously it's better than what you had back in the day because I don't think these games had any sort of save functionality. They wouldn't have been the kind of game to see save functionality.
So most of them were cassette based, yeah. Especially the C64 versions, you wouldn't be saving then.
Yeah, as far as I know, this was disc. I'm like, but that wasn't even the worst problem with this game.
Oh God.
With this game's, no, because maybe it's because how do I put this? The isometric puzzle game was a very popular genre in like Britain. I mean, that was like ultimate play the game era rares, stock and trade, Saberwolf, etc., etc. And this game kind of derives from that lineage, or if you will, the point and click adventure game. The bad parts. I was not expecting the pixel hunting.
You good?
Hello? Yes, sorry. My plug came loose. Oh. So, okay. Bloody hell. Look at that later. Hey.
Are you good?
No. There it goes. Sorry, it was not tightening. Anyway, so as I was saying, I was not expecting the pixel hunting from this game. and it's even more awkward than a point and click.
I'd imagine.
Like to it. There are objects that you have to go and pick up. And the thing is, you've got to align your character to where he actually picks up the item. Like
So,
he
like,
has to
kneel
actually have his
down,
hands
grab it.
pick up the item.
Mm.
Yeah. Yes. And dear God, was that aggravating.
80s was a hell of a time. Am I wrong?
No, you're not.
I didn't even live it. And I just imagine gaming then would be hell.
I mean, it depended on the kind of it depended on the platform.
Mm.
See, I grew up with like consoles, so I experienced a lot less of that kind of awkwardness because
Yeah, me too.
The stuff I'm describing, this is the kind of awkwardness you only get on the computer platforms of the era.
Fair.
Like maybe like the SG-1000s, anything that couldn't do the smooth scrolling. That being said, isometric jumping, even on consoles, was always awkward and gangly.
Mm-hmm.
And to further compound things, in order to pick things up, you have to hit the diagonal downs.
Ooh.
Yeah. Like I said, it's just awkwardness piled on with more awkwardness. As far as the rest of your movements, that's usually dedicated to like fighting. Like, and you have a few different ways to fight, like punches, kicks. If you have like your sword, you can swing your sword a few different ways, and there are different stances you can take. Like it is more complicated than I would have expected out of an action game from this time. Appreciatively so. Now perhaps the most iconic part of The Last Ninja is the music. And I think that leads me to the part of the discussion here, the review, where I have to address the black-clad elephant in the room.
That's not good.
Well, think about it. This game is called The Last Ninja, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, no.
I'm like, I won't say it got that bad, but this is very much a game series that was created by white people.
Oh, no.
Which really does explain the music for the original Last Ninja. So I suppose first, we'll have to address a bit of the technical side of the music, because it's doing some unusual stuff for Commodore 64 music. It's actually using all the audio channels. to pump out the music,
Gotta
which
flex
means
that Sid chip.
there's no which also means there's no sound effects in the game. It's just it's all music. I mean, honestly, it's better than most of the other platforms out there at that point in time. Hell, the SID chip could actually produce something we would identify as music.
Yeah.
Now, this specific critique is really only for the first game, because the main track, or at least the opening track, it's got more than the one track. But the first bit of music you hear in this, it's very stereotypical. I believe what certain video essayists, let's say, would call racist chopstick music.
That's a hell of a moniker.
I'm like, and in my research, I did see that the music here is considered to be very iconic. But the thing is, maybe they realize that, because that's the only thing I can think of as to why why they did the music change in the Last Ninja remix, which is counted as one of the games in this package, even though it's not a new game. It's the 1980s computer version of a bug fix and patch. Genuinely, that's what the Last Ninja remix is. It's the same game as the first, except they fixed some bugs, they changed some graphics, they put in a new intro, and they rewrote the music, and it sounds nothing. It sounds nothing like, oh hey, we're going to invoke 15th century Japan, which actually has its ups and downs. It's like certainly less catchy, but it's also, I think, less problematic.
Yeah.
And once again, it wasn't an issue in the other ones that I could at least that I could hear. I will admit, I did not get all that far in any of the versions, any of the games. Mainly because I could see why this game earned a lot of respect and adulation, not just in terms of its gameplay, but I will remind people that this game was very much cashing in on a trend I did not know that extended over to the UK and Europe. Doubly so because the UK ended up having a moral panic over ninjas.
Yeah, that was a very big thing. That's why the TMNT was, what did they change it to? Like Teenage Hero something?
Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles.
Yeah.
But I guess it was better for the adults, even though apparently a lot of kids bought this. Scandalously so with the Last Ninja 2, because apparently that came packaged with an actual ninja mask and rubber shuriken.
At least they were rubber.
Well, obviously, I think if they had actually put actual shurikens in game packages, everyone would have been arrested.
Especially in Europe.
Yeah, especially in the UK, where shurikens, ninja weapons, they are flat out illegal. Over here, I
Yeah,
think
for
it's
some reason, Britain really keyed in on the ninjas as a violent thing to not be appropriate to have around.
yeah. I'm like, though I will very much say that this game is the pop culture viewpoint of the ninja. And also keep in mind, since it's a maybe a bit surprising for a 1980s computer, there's no sneaking.
Hmm.
Like, I suppose, like, if there was ever a platform you were going to, or a series of platforms you were going to do that kind of gameplay style, it would be on the computer platforms that can't handle the scrolling as good as, say, the NES. But no, they went with the isometric action. Maybe for the best. Like, also an aside, actual ninjas aren't going to be wearing sheer black gis or whatever they call them. They're going to be like navy blues or grays, because actual black silhouettes against light.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's something I actually respected the Ninja Gaiden trilogy for, because Ryu is actually dressed in what a ninja would actually wear.
Indeed.
So, and as far as The Last Ninja 2 and The Last Ninja 3, they place pretty similarly to the first one. The second one is generally considered to be the best because it's got better level design. It's got simplified controls because they realized that not everybody would have a joystick that would be able to handle the ordinal directions.
Yeah, because the joystick was not packed in with the Commodore back in the day. That was a separate purchase.
So they just simplified it to having the cardinal directions do the actions. And, and that got they cut down on like the item finding. You still gotta do a bit of pixel hunting. Like, you gotta line up your punches to hit like switches. Like, also the Last Ninja 3, at least the Amiga version, it pulled a Home Alone 2 on me. I suppose that's going to need a bit of context, but okay. Very quickly, Home Alone 2 on the Super Nintendo, one of the worst games I've ever played. It literally starts out with some flat out puerile game design, in that you have an enemy.
Wait, why are we on Home Alone 2 now?
I'm explaining. In that,
yes, at
when
the
you
very start,
start,
if you walk the wrong way, Tim Curry immediately chokes you to death.
yeah, or if you just wait a couple of seconds, he chokes you to death. That happened to me in The Last Ninja 3 for the Amiga. I was like, an enemy was literally coming towards me when I started and started hitting. I didn't instantly die, but I was not prepared for that. So, yeah, I don't know if that was like Amiga specific. Like, I just was really not inclined to try the Commodore 64 edition after that. But no, that's just bad game design. Like, you do not have a enemy approach you when you literally start the game, and you got to move or you're dead. That's just dickishness. So, yeah. as far as overall, as far as these games go, they have aged perhaps better than contemporaries from around that time, but there's no getting around that these are very much of their time, of their platforms. And that means this is really going to be playing for the nostalgia crowd and really the odd curio. Because yeah, I'll be honest, I didn't have the patience for this game series quirks. Like, like I saw in a YouTube documentary about these games that, you know, it's very much this is all you had. You played it, you continue to play it, you spent all your time mastering it kind of love. You know, there's plenty of mediocre to bad NES games or Super Nintendo games or Genesis games that have this exact same love attached to it. And I'm not saying that this game is as bad as, say, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on the NES, but same kind of syndrome here. This is really for the old crowd. And unfortunately that applies to the collection itself. Like, the actual collection is pretty fucking mediocre. It's not the worst. Like, it's not just literally taking all the ROMs and plopping it in like very basic menus. But it's also, we live in a time where like Digital Eclipse is ever raising the bar for these things.
Mm-hmm.
There are some nice features in, you know, it's got the original box arts showcase when you start up. You know, it's got the video footage. It's got a new Song of Cheese, let's say. I don't know what the Ballad of the Last Ninja, but it's got review scores from prominent gaming magazines of the day. On the flip side, you know what it doesn't have? The actual reviews. I'm like, it doesn't have any behind the scenes stuff. Like, there's no context materials in this thing. Like, which is ironic because this was subject to a Kickstarter campaign, and a lot of those materials were used for the selling of the Kickstarter campaign. But if you were a neophyte that, you know, saw, oh, hey, Last Ninja Collection, you know, those are words that interest me, I'm going to buy this. And you got this package, you would not be told why these games were a big deal. You know, there's no videos, there's no commentary, there's nothing here to tell you why The Last Ninja is important. It does go on about the importance of game preservation in general. Okay. I've actually talked about this before, but it bears mentioning here again. Games preservation and the commercial selling of a product are not the same things. Like, as far as game preservation goes, these are preserved like on archive.org. Like, if you want to, you can go and play many of these titles on archive.org right now in your browser. Like, how well that's going to suss out, I couldn't tell you, but they're there. They've been, by definition, preserved on the preservation website. like, no, when you put them in a package, you are selling a product. And one of the key features when it comes to old games is reminiscing why these things matter. And that's just absent here. Like I don't know if you want to say that Digital Eclipse has just raised expectations too high. But I would say that no, this is just a mediocre at best package, and it's not just lacking materials on the games that are in here, but System 3 has been trying to get The Last Ninja 4 off the ground for literal decades. There's been about 4 versions of The Last Ninja 4 in production, and they've all fallen to pieces for one reason or another. Once again, we've seen in Digital Eclipse, we've seen in Night Dive titles, we have seen like prototypes, footage, screenshots, even playable builds. None of that for The Last Ninja 4 is here. In fact, this package does not acknowledge that The Last Ninja 4 was ever a conception. On the flip side, The Last Ninja 1, there was the first version of this that was done by a Hungarian developer called Andromeda Software, aka the development house that actually gave the West Tetris. That's a whole story we don't have time for.
That would be another 3-hour discussion right there.
I mean, indeed, but the short version of what happened here is System 3 did not think that Andromeda's version of The Last Ninja was up to snuff. So they took it in-house. And like I said, these are anecdotes. And also, if this were a top shelf collection, if it were possible. Now, I will grant that a playable prototype of this version of The Last Ninja may be lost to the ages. But once again, we don't even get an acknowledgement that happened. So overall, it's a mediocre package for some good to decent to really Bangkok Nights is the only true stinker of the bunch. It's just, you will have to put up with a lot of late 80s computer jank with this collection. Like, it's disappointing. And it's further exacerbated by the price. I actually went off on this last week when we were going over the list of games, because this thing clocks in at $30 bleeding. No. That's the price of one of Night Dive's remasterings, or what Digital Eclipse is charging. Maybe a little less than, say, Tetris Forever, or Atari 50.
Well, and Tetris Forever has a brand new version of Tetris
with
in
their
it.
Packages, among other things.
Yeah.
I'm like, $30 is no bueno. This package does not justify that price point on any level. Maybe the actual nostalgic set will disagree with me on that point. I don't care. It's like there are not enough games here. There's not enough versions.
There's
And
not
once
enough
again,
features in the emulation setup to warrant that as
Yep.
well.
There's not, there's not enough documentation. There's not enough here for me to say, yeah, this was worth $30. This should be $15. This should be literally half the price.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you're curious about checking out the Last Ninja collection, either go try it on archive.org or wait for a deep sale.
Mm-hmm.
Because, yeah, I just cannot with that price. Like, that actually infuriates me a bit. Anyway, so I think that comes to the end of what I got. Petty, Galax, is there anything else you wish to ask about the Last Ninja collection?
No, I think I'm good.
No, I think I'm good.
All right, then. So, yeah, that'll about do it for this review and this review session. So, coming up on the week ahead. So, we are doing some different things this week. Mainly because our guest scheduled this week had to cancel. Or rather, delay things. Turns out they were double booked and requested a delay. That interview is happening next month, I believe.
Mm.
So, and there's no Friday show in the morning. So, with that in mind, on Wednesday, February 25th, we'll be having Conversational Footage, the inaugural edition of a sub-series I'm dubbing Commercial Time. In case you couldn't tell, we are going to be looking at, well, game ads. And for this, we are going to be celebrating Zelda's 40th anniversary. So we are going to be looking at a shitload of Zelda ads on Wednesday. On Friday, February 27th, we will be having a multiplayer mayhem scheduled, as we will be engaged in playing the game Mining Company, which is also up for review that week, or next week. And we do have a new episode of MSP planned for Wednesday, so look for that as well. And until next time, I shall wish you good gaming.